So, on a much less joyous note, the church released a statement condemning acts of violence against the Jewish community, particularly in light of the recent attack on a Hanukkah celebration in Bondi Beach in Australia. Um, I mean, there is not much to say about this other than what a horrible tragedy, and absolutely, we condemn acts of violence against the Jewish community and against all religious communities.
As the cold winds of winter sweep in, there's nothing like the warmth of a comforting cup to help you slow down and unwind. This is the season. Let Postum be your cozy companion. Made from roasted grains, Postum is caffeine-free and rich with a smooth roasted flavor. It's the perfect drink for those quiet, chilly mornings. Whether you're curled up with a good book, sharing a laugh with loved ones, or simply watching the snow fall outside, a cup of Postum is the moment you have been waiting for.
Well, welcome to This Weekend Mormons. We're so glad you're here to join us. It is the Twin Siblings edition, but you guys, for the very first time ever, I'm recording without my twin sibling. Maddie is on vacation, enjoying, a wonderful cruise. And I have a special host with me this week. Her name is Morgan Crossley. Morgan, welcome to TWIM. Tell us about yourself.
Hi, I'm Morgan. I am 26 and I live in North Salt Lake with my husband, Jake, and I am Millie's daughter. So I don't think there's a good, catchy phrase for what this is, like twin siblings. It's twin mommy daughter
Yeah.
edition.
Mommy daughter edition. I love that. It's a date. Morgan, I really am excited for you to be a co-host. I've been asking you for a long time to co-host because I think that you are a lovely person, obviously. But you and your husband are some of our greatest podcast critiques. Like, you do a really good job of saying you covered that story well, but also you could have dug a little bit deeper, or here's a perspective you might not have thought about. So I'm excited to have your input this week.
Yeah, I'm excited to be on. I'm a little nervous. I don't normally do stuff like this. Also, just because I am good at critiquing doesn't necessarily mean I'm fantastic at podcasting. So, no promises that I won't make the same mistakes. But yeah, my husband and I, we both work and we have a puppy named Franklin. He's a Bernedoodle and he's just the love of our lives. And yeah, so my husband is a school teacher. He teaches at Sunset Junior High in Davis County, and I work for Salt Lake City School District in Salt Lake. So Millie also works for the school district. So we're a school district family is how
We
things
really
ended
are.
up turning out. That was not my life plan, but I really enjoy it. So yeah, and then my calling is that I teach Relief Society. Jake teaches gospel doctrine, so we both teach classes at church. And then Jake is also ward clerk, so he helps with that stuff. So yeah, a bit about us.
You guys are kind of, I would say, maybe young for your ward demographic.
Super young for our ward demographic. Yeah, our ward is mostly people whose kids have moved out of the house, and so they're just still living in their nice houses in North Salt Lake. And we're kind of in this townhouse complex at the bottom of the bench. So we're in a ward with all of the really beautiful houses up on the bench and then just our townhouse complex. And there are a good number of young couples in our complex, but most of them don't go to church. So it's just kind of us and people my parents' age. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think you probably bring some needed diversity and fresh perspectives to your ward. Do you think that's true?
Yeah, probably. And I like my ward. The Relief Society has been super welcoming and, everyone's really nice. But yeah, I do wish we had more young people our age to hang out with in the ward. We do have one neighbor couple that we hang out with, and they're kind of our one lifeline. in the ward. And they're actually changing our ward boundaries really soon because we have like 5 kids in our primary and 5 youths total, and so they're pulling in some other wards to make the youth more robust, is what I'm told.
Okay, I wanted to talk to you about this because we've chatted about this just for a second, but not on the podcast.
Hmm.
So, have you heard of the barbell or the bow tie wards? Because I think this might be what happens to your ward is changing it to a barbell or
Yeah.
bow tie system.
It could be. I think my number one thought on them is that they're called the wrong thing. It
Okay,
should
well,
be.
explain what it is really quick so that that makes sense.
It's like it's more like an oval. They've got it the inverse of what it
Yeah.
should be.
Yeah, so like
Um,
when I heard somebody call it a barbell or bow tie ward, what they're saying is it's two wards that are separate functioning wards, but they have a combined second hour young men and young women and or primary. So like if you're in a ward like yours where the primary is really small or the youth program is really small, let's say you're ward number 1 and then there's a ward number 2. So ward number 1, let's say, meets from 9 to 10 a.m. And then they have their second hour from 10 to 11. Ward number 2 has their first hour from 10 to 11, and it's combined with Ward's 1's second hour. So you have separate bishoprics, separate relief societies, but you have a primary presidency and or a young men and young women presidency that function together as one ward. And then Ward 2 would have their sacrament meeting second. So sacrament meeting for Ward 2 would go from like 10 to 11. So it's kind of this funnel together and then funnel back apart, I guess.
yeah. So yeah, my gripe is that thinking about it in terms of number of people in the building, it would be like there's a small number of people and then there's 2 wards in the building at once, and then it's back to 1 ward. So it should be like a Christmas ornament.
It's not a barbell, it's an ornament.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do
But
you
I
think that would
actually
work?
don't think that's what they're doing in our ward. What This is rumor, but the rumor I have heard is that they're basically redoing every single ward in like all of the whole Bountiful area.
Mhm.
And it's going to be, I think they're basically, because I've heard that we won't lose any people in our ward, we'll just gain people. So I think they're basically taking wards with a ton of kids and kind of divvying them out to wards with not a lot of kids. So the wards, if your ward has a lot of kids, you'll kind of be spread hither and yon. And if you don't, you'll stay mostly the same, but gain some younger family.
Did you just say hither and yon?
Maybe.
It might have happened.
My boss says that a lot, and it's kind of trickled down to me.
I love it. Well,
Mhm.
actually, this kind of leads us into our first story, quick clips, because so just today, every single ward council got a letter from the first presidency. And it was basically saying, like, hey, we're getting to the beginning of a new year. And just so you know, there's a lot of things that you have to do to get your young people ready. It was fascinating. They listed 6 things that they want people to do. So I'm just going to go through them real quick. And you can just imagine being a ward leader at this time and getting this letter and being like, okay, all right, got it. I mean, they're probably already aware, but you got to hold a temple and priesthood preparation meeting. This is for everybody who's going to be turning 12 in the next year. And then you've got to have primary advancement interviews. So everybody, again, that's turning 12 this year gets to go into young men's, young women's starting January 1st. So they have to have advancement interviews, and they can also have, as part of that, temple recommend interviews if they're wanting to go to the temple. But also on top of that, since the bishop usually does this at the beginning of every year, every other youth in the entire ward, their temple recommends are expiring because he initially started them mostly in January. So you got to do temple recommend interviews with every single youth who's is expiring. And then they want you to have a baptism and confirmation meeting for everybody who's going to turn 8 this year. So that's a separate group of kids. This is new in the general handbook apparently right now. So a baptism and confirmation preparation meeting. And then you need to invite those kids to start going to Valiant activities. And then you need to have another meeting with every priesthood holder from age 12 to 16 that's going to be advancing. So, like advance from deacon to teacher, you need to have an interview for that. Advancement from teacher to priest, you need to have an interview for that. And then you need to organize all the new primary and Sunday school classes. How's that sound?
That sounds like insanity. Um, yeah, I didn't really know that all of that was a thing. I feel like my instinctual response is that maybe some of these meetings should be less formalized.
Mm,
Because I feel like some of them you have to like do a formal interview like you would with Temple Recommend interviews, but some of them sound more just like, checking in with kids before they move into a new stage of things and letting them know what's going to be going on.
mm-hmm.
Um, and so I don't know. I wonder if bishops could kind of like use the second hour to wander around classes and just kind of check in with kids, sit down and chat next to a kid. I don't know. I don't know if that's
Yeah.
feasible, but like I feel like it would be less intimidating for some of especially the younger kids, and help with fostering like community and a casual positive relationship with the bishopric and the youth.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
What an out of the box idea. I love it. Just a little more informal. And I mean, for that fact, like, couldn't the primary presidency help with that or the young men's presidency or, whatever group they're going into? Like, what if it was just less formal? I mean, obviously you have bishopric counselors that can help with temple recommend interviews and that sort of a thing. But yeah, as far as preparing them and inviting them and organizing all that, yeah, I love that idea. It's a good approach.
Yeah, that's true. It doesn't necessarily have to be the bishopric, I would think. I like maybe we could
Yeah.
delegate that a little bit and, have the primary presidency meet with kids during like even during singing time, you could just like pull a couple kids out every singing time and get through kids that way. I don't know.
Yeah.
Would,
Yeah.
it would be a
Interesting.
lot less formal meetings outside of church, which I feel like is kind of all the bishopric does sometimes, gets to do.
It's true. That is so true. Yeah. 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 Yep.
So we have seen what is potentially a new way to announce temples.
Oh,
The
yeah.
the church announced the first temple in Maine this week, and it was not at General Conference during the the last talk of the Sunday session like it usually is. So that was interesting. I thought it was a little strange, but when I mentioned it to my husband Jake, he said that they've done this before, but I don't
Hmm.
have sources for that. That's just what he said is that it's not the first time. Um, but
Interesting. Well, I do know I thought it was weird because didn't they announce it in, like it wasn't even a formal meeting, wasn't it like a Christmas fireside? A steak fireside or something?
I think so. I don't it's a Deseret News article and I don't have access to it because I don't pay to
Okay, let
subscribe,
me let me check it
so
out
I
really
can't
quick.
read the
Let's
whole
see.
thing.
Okay,
But
yeah, it was a steak Christmas fireside on Sunday evening. And yeah, it was the General Authority 70 for their area was there. And yeah, he said, by the way, just so you know, we're really excited to announce a temple.
and it's interesting too since they didn't announce any in the last conference. I don't know. I don't know. That's just interesting. I am fine with them slowing way down on temples because I feel like we have a lot of temples to catch up on, and it would be nice to, get them up and running before we announce the next
Yeah.
ones. I think that's reasonable. So I'm fine with them not having announced more temples in conference, but it's interesting that they chose not to do any, and then a couple months later, we're like, and Maine.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's definitely exciting for the people of Maine. I do think
Mhm.
it's neat. It's special to have like your own announcement in your area where the temple's going to be. But I don't know. And then I guess you just send out a press release or something like that. But I feel like when they listed everything at General Conference, I could get excited about places that I might not hear about because I don't live there. Like when they announced a temple in Colombia, I was really excited because I had traveled there recently and I was excited because I could visualize it in my mind. Even though it's not going to affect me personally, I just felt like a collective excitement from the entire church. I thought that was fun. And I think I'm going to miss that a little bit.
Yeah. Well, and it surprised me that it's the first temple in Maine because I kind of in my head had it that like every US state has a temple in it by now. And Maine's
Yeah.
not exactly like a super out there state either. So yeah, I was surprised that there's not any in there already. So
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
sure that people there feel it's much needed.
I'm sure they do. Well, congratulations to them. And yeah, I do think this is going to be the new pattern. So I guess we'll get used to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So have you guys already been singing Christmas hymns at your ward?
And we have sung some of the new ones.
You have? Okay, good. That's what I wanted to talk about. There's in the new hymn book, which we don't have yet, but we've been releasing songs for. There are
Mhm.
6 specifically Christmas songs, and I think it's kind of fun. I So there's 6 of them. Only one of them was written just for this hymn book. The rest of them have been out for a long time, just not in our hymn book. But our ward had our Christmas like music Sunday already because I'm in a college ward, a student ward. And so they've all already gone home for their break. And so we had our Christmas program a little bit early. So the choir sang Go Tell It on the Mountain, which is one of the new hymns for the hymn book. And do you know that song, Go Tell It on the Mountain?
I do. Was it the most reserved and slow version of Go Tell It on the Mountain you've ever heard?
Okay, listen, it was not. I was
Oh,
so
good.
amazed. Guess what they did? They did synchronized swaying while they sung it.
Oh, wow.
They swung side to side and even like a step touch and a step touch. And then when they got to the chorus, they snapped while they sang. It was quite
Okay, wait, so
cute and
this is a
delightful.
performance, not like the whole ward singing it from the hymn books?
This is a sacrament meeting word choir performance, and the entire meeting was songs.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've never had anything
I
like
was
it
like, I'm
before.
having a hard time picturing the entire congregation just
Congregation.
while, uh
Well, guess what? People in the congregation did naturally start to sway with the people who were singing. Like it was way more upbeat than I'm used to for a sacrament meeting. And I mean, to be
yeah,
fair, this is like supposedly like an African heritage hymn. I mean, I've heard it a lot of times, but um, it was a bunch of white kids like singing and snapping. But it was peppy and it was fun and it was definitely different than anything I've heard before. Yeah.
yeah. I think we could use some more pep in our church songs. Some
Yeah.
I like the, Baptist revivalist, songs and way of doing things because it's like I don't know, it's like religion is joy and celebration, and I really like that. I think we could use some more joyous and celebratory religious practice like they do.
I totally agree. I think it's so fun. I do wonder, I mean, I feel a little bit uncomfortable about is cultural appropriation going on improperly, but I don't want to
Right.
dwell on that because again, I love the pep of it and I kind of love the unity that it makes us think about people across the world singing a similar song. I just have a little bit of hesitation.
For sure. I do as well. I think probably the play is to just sing it and do what feels natural, but when you're doing it, do not do it as though you're trying to pretend to be a black person.
Yeah, that makes sense.
If
Yeah.
if you're if you're white, don't sing it and be like, "This is a black song. This comes from African heritage. I think I'm gonna just pretend to do what they do, because then you're just gonna be enacting stereotypes, which isn't great. But, you
Right.
know, if it makes you happy, if it makes you wanna move while you sing, just do what feels natural."
Go for it. Yeah, that sounds good.
Um, so on a much less joyous note, the church released a statement condemning acts of violence against the Jewish community, particularly in light of the recent attack on a Hanukkah celebration in Bondi Beach in Australia. Um, I mean, there is not much to say about this other than what a horrible tragedy, and absolutely, we condemn acts of violence against the Jewish community and against all religious communities. Um, so
I
yeah,
was glad
just
to
just
see
really
it.
hear about that.
Yeah, I mean, I know the church can't come out with a statement every time something horrible happens in the world, but I did feel like when at the beginning of the year when the church um, I'm sorry, I can't think of the name of the city. Oh, Grand Blanc, Michigan. When the church was attacked there, I did feel like there was a beautiful outpouring of support and love to members of our faith from other faiths. And I appreciate that our faith is responding similarly to the Jewish community. And again, like I said, I know we can't respond every single time, but I really liked the statement from the church. Um, yeah, and it's a sad thing. I don't know, do you feel like in general, like that religion is being targeted, or does that not come to your mind when you hear these kinds of stories?
I don't think it's so much about religion being targeted as it is just like general extremism is on the rise right now. I think there's a lot of acts of violence and terrorism going on all over the world against all sorts of different groups all the time, and that will include religious groups. Which, I say without any data to back it up. That's just my
Sure.
impression
Sure.
observing things, so I could be wrong.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I feel like, there are groups that are seeing a particular rise in, stuff like this. I think, both Jewish and Islam faiths are seeing a pretty significant uptick right now. Um, And so, yeah, that's really sad to
Yeah.
see. I I mean, yeah, there's just no excuse for violence in any context, in any scenario. I really
Yeah.
I mean, self-defense, obviously, but, yeah, I just think it's sad that people
Yeah. Can
feel
I
the need
ask you
to
this?
attack people and cause physical harm over disagreements about ideology or honestly, I think just often mental health more than anything else.
Yeah, yeah. Has your ward done anything to address safety concerns, or have you felt any need for that?
Our ward hasn't. I have heard that a lot of other wards have done like a safety procedures training. We didn't. I think at the time that most of the wards were doing that, we just watched the video that the area presidency for Utah released. So yeah, we haven't gone over it at all. I haven't really felt a need for it in our
Mhm.
ward. I there's never been anything that has felt unsafe or concerning in our ward.
That's good.
Which, it never does until it happens. So
Sure,
there is
sure.
that, and I don't think it's a bad idea to review safety protocols. It certainly never hurts, but we haven't.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So how is participation at your ward as far as like ward activities? Do people show up and go to ward activities?
Oh, I'd have to be at ward activities to tell you, and
Yeah.
I'm not.
Let me ask you why. Is it because ward activities don't appeal to you, or is it more because you're just busy?
It's both. I
Mhm.
went to a lot of I went to every activity when I was in my first year or 2 of college because I was lonely and I didn't have people to hang out with and connect with, so I really wanted that sense of community, and it did a great job of giving that to me. But I feel like the purpose that that would fulfill for me is community and social engagement in my week, and right now, I have a husband who I see every day, and I have coworkers I like, and I have lots of friends of both me and my husband and both of us that we see regularly, and I hang out with you guys. We get dinner every month, and I see my siblings also at least every month. I hang out with my brother, like, every week, so my social calendar's full and it's
Yeah.
delightful. So it just doesn't like it's just another thing that doesn't really add anything I'm not already getting is kind of how I feel about it. But I do think it's important to have those because not everyone's in that situation. A lot of people need that community connection.
Yeah, that makes sense. The reason why I asked is because there's a story, and it comes from somebody named Brianna Singh, and she posted the funnest video on Instagram and on TikTok. And basically, she said, if you're struggling with participation at your ward activities, there is one surefire answer. Morgan, what do you think it is?
I did watch the video, so it's cheating, but it's
Okay,
good food.
good food. Right. It's not just provide food, it's provide excellent, good food. And I was like,
Mhm.
girl, you're right. Like, okay, here's the thing. We're in a YSA ward, like I've mentioned earlier. And I'm not exaggerating when I say 90% of our entire budget goes to meals, right? We are constantly serving them food. But I don't think that's enough. Now, the YSA kids come because food is free food when you're that age is anything helps.
Yep.
But particularly good food. She's saying like, hey, don't just like show up with potluck, like pay the money, spend your budget, and actually provide good meals, good food, and people will come. And not only will they come, they will stay. They will stay and socialize and gather. What do you think? Do you agree?
I agree to an extent. I mean, I don't think it's the be all end all. I think because she also in her videos she mentions like the first thing you need to do is go to a Polynesian ward and see how they do it because they do a fantastic job. Which I've only been to one once. We went to a sacrament meeting when we went to Hawaii once when I was in high school. But from what I have heard, it's all about community, which food is a huge part of community. So that makes sense. People love to eat together and cook together and share meals together. So I do think that's a huge part of it. But I would say part of it is also maybe less focus on the part of the budget that's like decorations and everything looks like pretty and cute and it's like a wedding venue when you show up to the event, which can be really nice. But I think for some people it feels more of a to do to go to. And sometimes what people want is to just like so show up and sit in a camp chair with their friends and chat and eat for a while. I
So
think that's what
true.
gets people
Yeah.
there and what gets people to stay longer so that they don't just show up, grab their food, and go. I've definitely
Yeah.
like my husband is as introverted as they come, and he has definitely like in college had that time when he needed the free food but didn't want the social interaction. So, breeze through the gym, straight line, grab your plate, and he's in the car before he's talked to a soul.
Yeah.
um,
But guess what? His needs are still being filled, right? Like
yeah,
yeah, so I think it's interesting. Yeah, I think for me, I would much prefer be invited to, like you said, like sit out on the lawn and like just more casual, or even like when my bishop sometimes after general conference, he'll say, whoever wants to come over to the bishop's house afterwards and just have treats and hang out, and like he'll provide some food. Like I'm much more likely to go to that than I am to go to a gym with formal tables and set up and a line of food. Yeah, interesting. Yeah.
yeah, which, you don't have to hold it at someone's house because
No,
that can be a burden on the person who has to host
sure.
and clean and all of that, but, just having a pavilion at a park when the weather's nice is pretty easy to do, and I think people like that. I feel like, there's a reason why Linger Longers are probably the most attended church event
Yeah.
and that run the longest. Because I mean, as I said, I don't really go to things outside of church meetings anymore, but I would stay for
Yeah.
a Linger Longer.
Well, and my home ward, my not YSA ward, they do linger longers all summer long. And yeah, you're right. Like people absolutely stay and enjoy them a lot. So I think it's
Yeah.
interesting. Here's another idea that I saw on Instagram. It's so funny. So this is in Orem, Utah. And there's a guy, he's kind of probably your age, Morgan, Jackson Smith, and he has started hosting men's meetings at the Costco. Okay. So it's literally anybody who wants to come to the Costco at Wednesday on 7 p.m. and hang out in the Costco food court. And he's calling it the Men's Mental Health Club. Okay.
I
And
like it.
Jackson, he's a member of the church and he's just trying to find ways. He's like, men need to hang out. Why don't we just meet men where they are? Which is like, frankly, Costco pizza and hot dogs are cheap and the area is casual. and he's having a lot of success. Just like the group is growing every single week. Isn't that like crazy?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a great idea because I mean, you hear a lot about the idea of the tertiary location being crucial to social health and more specifically community building, and how part of the reason that people are so much less social these days is the loss of those tertiary locations. One of which is church, which is why having
Mm.
these activities can be so nice. But not everybody's comfortable at church, you know? So if the only
Mm-hmm.
tertiary location you have in Utah is church, there's a lot of people who don't have a tertiary location. So I think it's
Yeah.
great to be like, let's just hang out at Costco and get pizza and hot dogs and like talk. And
Yeah.
I mean, you hear about the male loneliness epidemic as well, which is kind of a bit of a joke in some ways, but also in other ways, like, yeah, men don't socialize quite to the extent that women do as a general stereotype. But that doesn't mean they don't need it. It doesn't mean that they don't enjoy it.
Yeah.
And so creating opportunities for men to hang out together and have friends and have a social group, and I think that's great.
I do too. Good on you, Jackson. That's a fun idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hope it gets copied and pasted all across the country.
So, it is the season for the lights at Temple Square, which we actually went and visited this week with some high school friends of my husband's. But did you know that Salt Lake is not the only temple that does them? That there's a whole bunch of them that do the lights at the Temple Square every year? Because I
I
didn't,
really
but it's
didn't.
true.
No.
Yeah,
Huh.
so there is a list here of the temples that have light displays this year. Some of them, according to the picture, look more impressive than others, granted. Um, but so it looks like Washington,
How
D.C.
was Salt
has
Lake?
one.
Was it impressive?
You know, it was good for general light displays compared to what Salt Lake has been in the past. I will say it was a little underwhelming. Um, according to people who
Okay.
care. I don't care. Um, I've never been super into the lights, and to me, it's, I walk around and I look at lights, and that's all it ever is to me. So it was the same as always, in my opinion. But, um, I mean, the construction certainly doesn't help that half the temple is closed and half the temple grounds. And it divides the grounds in half, and there's no sidewalks to get to the other half. So to get from one half of the lights to the other, you have to like cross the street and go around and then cross the street again. So that's a bit of an inconvenience. And I did notice that it looks like because you've got to assume that some strings of lights stop working every year and need replaced, some percentage of them. And it seems like they're starting to replace some of those string lights with the ground set lights that just it's kind of like a big spotlight that beams up into the tree. And they're
Hmm.
colored, and they have some kind of effect to them where it doesn't look like just a spotlight. Like it's kind of cool, but it doesn't feel quite the same. Part of the magic is, in my opinion, knowing how much work goes into putting all those lights on the trees. And I'm partial to a warm yellow normal lights glow on my Christmas trees, which it definitely doesn't lend itself to that this year.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Gotcha.
Um,
Okay. And I did interrupt. Where else are they doing Christmas light displays at?
yes. So Washington, D.C., Kirtland, Ohio. It sounds like so some of these are more just like nativity scenes, and some of them
Mm.
are like full light displays. So it looks like Washington is lights, Kirtland is nativity, Mesa is lights, and theirs actually looks really cool. They've created camels out of lights, and there's this whole camel train leading to the temple. It's kind of fun. There's lights in Oakland, California, obviously Salt Lake City. St. George has a nativity display and a couple lights, but it's mostly just the nativity. Laie in Hawaii has a Christmas concert. The Joseph Smith Birthplace Historical Site in Vermont has a nativity. Manila in the Philippines has a full light display. They've got them on the palm trees. It's pretty cool.
Oh, that's neat.
Hamilton, New Zealand has lights. It looks like they go pretty all out. Mexico City has a bunch of lights. Brazil does like a little Village of Bethlehem exhibit. So kind of nativity centered. And yeah,
Awesome.
that's the highlights.
Yeah. I think it'd be cool if our church became known for beautiful light displays at the temples. Like, I think that'd be kind of a cool thing to become known for at Christmas time because, I think it does let people know that we worship Jesus Christ because we celebrate hard, if that makes
And
sense.
it's really nice that it's free because there's other
Yeah.
ones like you can go to Luminaria in Utah, but it'll cost you some money.
Okay. Yeah. Good point. Good point. Okay. We are going to jump to our big deal, little deal, no deal segment. Okay. So I think you know how this works. I read a headline, and then you and I at the same time decide whether it's a big deal, a little deal, or no deal at all. Okay.
Okay.
Here we go. Here's your headline. Updates to the General Handbook of Instructions allows for more flexibility in Bible usage. So you can choose which Bible you want to use, both at home and in church. Big deal, little deal, or no deal? 3, 2, 1.
Little deal.
Little deal. Okay, little
We
deal.
agree.
Little deal. Have you heard anything about this?
Uh-huh. I discussed it with my husband when I heard about it, and we had different takes on it. So I was kind of like, okay, great. More knowledge is never a bad thing. More stuff to read. Like, I'm sure that there's a reason we did the King James originally and that not everything is correct in the other translations, but I think it's also been pretty well established that not everything is correct in the King James version as well. So you kind of have to take it with the same approach as you do with that, where, you're prayerful, you compare it to other doctrines and other sources of truth. And you just kind of, if you have questions, I think prayer is always my number one go to.
Sure. Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
would say I was like, yeah, you take the same approach with these. I think it's great. Um, Jake's take was that he doesn't like it.
Oh, really?
um,
I'm very surprised.
I was surprised as well because that's normally like my response is normally his attitude towards things as well. Um,
Yeah.
but what he said is that so he's a history teacher, and he said he thinks it kind of comes from his background in choosing good sources, and he just feels like the King James Bible has been established as the best source, and now we're saying, use the bad sources too. Um, it's fine. And he's like, why don't we just stick to the good source? And he thinks that the reason that this change is happening is because so when they lay out the other versions you can use, they give reading levels that each version would be considered by grade.
Yeah. I
And
thought that was
so
weird. It's like if you're at this reading level, you could try this Bible. I thought that was a little unusual.
yeah. So he was saying that it used to be that the average reading level in the US was like an eighth grade reading level. And so
Hmm.
that was the reading level that this is based on what museums would print, what reading level they would put their content in. So they used to do eighth grade because that was the average. The average has now dropped to at least fifth grade reading level for the US. And so museums has shifted to putting out their content at a fifth grade reading level. And he thinks the church might be doing kind of the same thing where they're like, well, the King James Version is definitely not a fifth grade reading level friendly book. And if people are just going to not really understand it or use it, better that they have a source that they can understand and use a little, even if it's not as correct. At least they're getting something.
Huh.
Um,
So they're dumbing it down, is what you're saying.
Maybe. That's
Maybe.
one take. We don't I mean, we don't know
Yeah.
why they're doing it for sure, but
I mean, I
Um,
can understand the perspective. I did have a talk with one of my friends this week, and she said, you know, any missionary who serves and learns another language on their mission, they recognize that the translations of the Bible in other languages are not translated from the King James Version. So she said, you know, she in particular came home from her mission, was like, well, why is the Bible so easy to read in another language, but in English it's hard to read, right? Kind of the same
mm,
thing. um, I've always used like the Blue Letter Bible. It's an app and it compares, you know, different translations side by side. I've always thought that's super helpful, and I've tried to use it in teaching occasionally, and there's been pushback. And it's been like, you can't use that Bible, or you can't use that translation. And so to me, I appreciate the church being like, hey, settle down, whatever people want to read that works for them, let's allow that, not just at home use, but in church use. I think that's great. I think it's more broad. I think it's more recognizing of a worldwide church, of a global church, and of a variety of translations. I think it's great. Yeah.
and Jake did say, to be fair, that part of the reason, in no small part, is because he's just kind of had it very hammered into him since he was a teen that, like, King James is the only acceptable version, and you are not
Yeah.
to read from these other versions. And so it just
Yeah.
feels like kind of like, no,
Scary. It
that's
will
not
be hard
right."
for people to,
Um,
yeah, I think it will be hard for people to move away from. I
yeah.
agree. Yeah.
And I didn't
Yeah.
really have that growing up. Like, I was aware that we used the King James and that there were other versions, but it was never really talked about for me. So,
Mm.
there's none of that, uh, aversion that's been built up over
The
years.
fear. Yeah, makes sense. Yeah. Well, just really quickly, there were a few other updates to the handbook besides just the usage of Bibles. One of them was saying a new section on AI, artificial intelligence. To me, it's kind of silly that we have this in the handbook, but basically it's saying like AI does not replace divine inspiration. AI needs to be used responsibly. Um, I don't know. It's just saying make moral choices. Don't ask AI to make them for you. Okay, it's interesting that that's in the handbook to me
Mhm.
personally. And then they had a few other things, updates to temple garments. So, one of the things that they said is that part of the temple clothing that you're supposed to wear for the endowment, they removed that you need to wear socks or hosiery. So basically, it says that women during the endowment and sealing ordinances need to wear a long sleeve or three-quarter sleeve dress or a skirt and a shirt and shoes and slippers, but they no longer say that you have to wear hosiery. Hosiery. Anyway, so that was an update. And then they also said that they made some updates to the clothing, that accommodations can be made on length and stuff like that. If you're like, for example, in a wheelchair or something like that. So I thought, you know, just a really quick update. They are making updates continuously. They also made an update and clarified some of the language on the church policy regarding abortion. I don't really know what the difference is. It wasn't clear in the article that I read, but just that they had made things a little more clear. So if you're interested in that, I guess you can look it up in the handbook. But yeah, just of note.
All right. Yeah, I also think it's weird when they have to clarify, like, AI isn't God. It's like, yeah,
Right.
no
Really?
way.
Okay.
They did also clarify some stuff about, like, please don't have AI write your whole talk or your whole lesson. That's not what it's for. They did say, like, using it for research, for help organizing, that's fine, but don't tell AI to just do the whole thing for you. That's no good.
That's not good. Yeah.
Um, so there is an article that came out recently
No, 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 no,
talking.
no, no, no. You've got to do
Oh,
big
I
deal,
gotta
little
do
deal, no
big
deal.
deal, little
Yeah.
deal, no deal. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Uh, okay, this is my problem with big deal, little deal, no deal, is that I hate when
Mhm.
the title doesn't give you enough information to determine if it's a big deal, little deal, or no deal. So the
I
title of the
see.
article is Why You Should Talk About Faith at the Dinner Table. but I'm going to tell you why the article claims that you should talk about faith at the dinner table, and you can tell me whether that's a big deal, little deal, or no deal.
Okay. Okay.
So, children who have casual conversations about religion with their parents outside of church attendance are more likely to be religious as adults. Big deal, little deal, or no deal. 3, 2, 1. Little deal.
Little deal. Little deal. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe no deal.
It's interesting. Yeah. Well, it's interesting talking about this as a mother and a daughter because I do think that it's odd as a parent if the only time you talk about church is at church. I think
Mhm.
that's odd. And I don't actually know a lot of people for whom that's the case, except for that, according to this article, less than 50% of people talk about faith during the week. So only 40% of church going families, so families who go to church, only 40%, 48% of them talk about church during the week. That's weird, right?
A little bit. I do think it's kind of uh like people avoid talking about faith, I think, because it can be a very controversial topic. Like it's the same way you avoid talking about politics at Thanksgiving dinner, where it's like, do I want to talk about why God is the way he is with my son right now on the way to baseball practice, or do I want to ask him how his school day was? I think generally people
I
are going to
see.
choose the latter. Um, so I mean it does make some sense to me. And it's also, yeah, it's just a more serious topic. Um, but I think part of what the article is saying is make it a less serious topic.
Yeah.
Like to leave room for talking about stuff in a way that's like, I don't know, I have questions. I'm a little concerned about this, frankly. Or like if someone says something that you don't view as in line with church doctrine or policy, like not immediately pushing back on that so that they feel like they can't talk about that or have opinions or worries or concerns that aren't the right ones.
Yeah.
Um, so I think that's a part of it. Is just making it easier and more open to talk about things and being willing to accept that like your parents or your kids aren't going to feel the same way about religion as you do, and that's fine. You can just talk about it, talk about how you
Yeah.
feel.
Yeah.
Um
And feeling
and
okay with not having all the answers. Like, I think it's hard for some parents to say, like, oh, I don't know how to explain that, or I don't know how to justify that, or I don't, yeah, like I have some problems with that too. But if as a parent, you can just be a human being and be able to say, like, well, that's interesting, that's worth exploring, or yeah, I hadn't thought about it that way. And you can still say what you believe and you can still teach the gospel, but you also don't have to have all of the answers all of the time.
mhm. Yeah, and I think it's also uh bringing it up in more natural ways, or more specifically not being afraid to go there, but not I don't love the idea of being like, "I'm gonna make a conscious effort to talk about religion with my family," because then you start asking some of the questions that this article recommends you ask that I don't think are very good. Where it's like, "List 5 things that God has done for you in your life this week." And it's like, "Okay, your kid does not wanna talk to you about that. That's not authentic casual conversation about religion." Or like, um, how do you think God is supporting you? Like, I think it's normal to talk about the positives in life and ways that you're being supported. But I think just being more willing to be upfront and honest about how religion plays a role in the way that you look at things. So like Jake and I were laughing about that movie trailer that's been on everything that we watch on YouTube lately for is I don't even remember what it's called. It's a movie that's coming out where the concept is in the afterlife, the woman who married one man who died and then had a second husband. She has to choose now in the afterlife.
Oh,
Um,
okay. And it's not an LDS movie.
I don't think so. Um,
Okay. Okay.
so the advertisement is bad. Okay. That's my opinion. I don't think it looks like a good movie. Um, but we were just kind of poking fun at it. And then, it turns into, well, what do you think happens for people who have married multiple spouses? Because that's something that happens in our church. And that's a situation a lot of people are in. And we do believe in an afterlife where you're going to be sealed to someone. So, just being like, let's have that conversation. I don't think it's weird to have that conversation while we're sitting talking about this movie.
Yeah. 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 I think so too. Yeah. Well, how do you think your parents did?
I think you did a good job. I think, uh, I think it was never weird to talk about religion. I don't think we did as much in a way where I was interested in doing so until we were older. But I feel
Mm,
like as we got older, like you guys did a good job of making it feel natural to talk about religion and spiritual beliefs. And like so I'm the only sibling in our family that's still a member of the church, but my younger brother talks to you guys about faith and spirituality and morality and philosophy and religion all of the time,
yeah.
because he knows that even though you disagree on a lot of things, you're comfortable having that conversation with him and he's comfortable having that conversation with you. And he'll talk to
Yeah.
me about that stuff too. So I think really it's just having a good relationship with each other,
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
you're comfortable talking about those things.
I agree. I think so too. Okay. We're going to shift topics and I am going to read this headline, Morgan. I'm going to do it the right way, even though you think it's weird. Okay.
Are
But
you saying the right way is not my way?
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's what I'm
Mm,
saying. Okay.
okay.
So Ben Shalati is
Okay.
a person who we've interviewed on this podcast a couple of times. He's a friend of the podcast for sure. He's a public figure, and Ben Shalati is also an openly gay, but also very active member of the church. And he wrote a recent blog post, and that is going to be the article that you say big deal, little deal, or no deal to. So here's the title: Why talks on the family proclamation are hard for me. Big deal, little deal, or no deal. Three, two, one. Big,
Well, little deal slash no
big
deal.
deal.
But let me
Okay.
let me give my caveat. I think this topic is very important and it
Mm-hmm.
matters to me. Um, but I'm sticking to my way of doing things, which is the article title is someone made a post about how the family proclamation talks are hard for them. And in the grand scheme of the church, that's no deal. But
Okay.
they're hard for a lot of people. They're hard for me
Yeah.
too. I think if it was talks on the family proclamation are um, causing people to feel uncomfortable in the church, that elevates the level of deal. So,
Deal. Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Great. Great. Point taken. Point taken. Um, I have had a lot of thoughts about this recently because I do feel like the church has doubled down on the family proclamation, especially since last conference. There were two massive talks about the family proclamation. And so, because of that, now we have lessons about those talks. And so, it's just coming up a lot. Um, I really appreciate Ben Shalati's thoughtful way of stating things, and I think that for any listener who could just please click on the show notes and take a look at Ben's thoughts. He's really quite beautiful. But basically, what he says is that right before he came out as gay to his family, he asked his dad for a priesthood blessing. And in that blessing, his dad told him that you will be saved in the highest degree of the celestial kingdom. And Ben's immediate response to that was like, oh, no. Because as a gay man, being married to a woman does not sound like his idea of heaven. That doesn't sound like a joyous and purposeful thing. And then the other thing that's hard for him is that he loves this church. He loves the family. He loves the doctrine, but he does feel out of place. And every time there's a talk that talks about what a family is, it hurts him inside because he has prayed and prayed and prayed. And the answer that he has gotten is, you're on the right path, Ben, carry on. And it's hurtful and harmful every time that he has to then re-examine that answer that he's gotten from God. And he's made peace with it in a lot of really beautiful ways. And I love that about him. And he talks about, what is a family and who is my family? And, what is more important? Is it more important that I marry a woman or that I become like my savior? And obviously, the more important thing is that he becomes like his savior and that he is sealed to God in God's family, which he is, right? He's sealed to his family. So there's a lot of difficult things. And I just, I look around at people that I know who are in similar situations, if not exactly. Maybe you are straight, but you're not married. And that's not happening for you, regardless of how much you want it or how hard you try. You know, I don't know. Do you have thoughts on this, Morgan?
Oh yeah. I haven't read Ben Schillaty's article yet, but I want to after this because it hadn't been
Mm.
added yet the last time I reviewed this document.
Oh, gotcha.
But I love Ben Schillaty, so I'll definitely be reviewing that later.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I definitely get it. I'm straight for the most part. I'm maybe like 30% bi, but I've only ever been with a man. I'm married to a man. So like I don't feel like I've had enough struggle to justify calling myself bi, you know?
Mm-hmm,
Um
mm-hmm.
but I have a lot of friends who are a member of the LGBT community and it's really important to me that I am an ally 100%, no holds barred.
Mm.
Um, and I mean, it's hard for me too when these talks come out. And I have also prayed deeply and consistently and for years and years again and again on these topics. And I feel like I've gotten answers that were from God. And I feel too like I once again have to re-examine everything and be like, am I just telling myself what I want to hear? Am I like misinterpreting things? Um, because I like so much of the family proclamation is so beautiful and important to me. Like I love
Yeah.
families. Families are so important to me and I love the way that the church supports and uplifts families. And I love the idea of eternal families. That's kind of like the most important doctrine in the church to me. Um, but yeah, there are situations like Ben where it's like, yeah, the highest degree of the celestial kingdom, you can't even say that Ben should, never love anyone ever in his life and just, not act on those desires, which would also be, a pretty hard ask considering
Right.
finding a partner and, building a life together is a part of God's plan.
Yeah. Right.
And
Right.
part of becoming a celestial being, that's part of why it's the highest degree of the celestial kingdom. But you can't be in the highest degree without being married to a woman if you're a man. And yeah, I mean, it totally makes sense that for, Ben and for other gay people, or if you're, a woman and only attracted to women, like faking it till you make it for the rest of eternity does not sound like that's
Right.
the choice to
Right.
make. And it wouldn't be right for the person you marry either to not have yourself be totally committed. Like the other person deserves that. Um so yeah, it's hard. And I don't know the answers. I can't pretend that I
Yeah.
do. I can't pretend that I know what the church will do in the future. I know what I would like to happen, but that doesn't actually have any sway on anything. So, um,
Darn it. If only
yeah,
it did. Well,
and
and
it's
and
hard.
Ben's situation is one situation, but there are so many um what would I say, not traditional families. I mean, if you're divorced, um a lesson on the family proclamation, That's hurtful. That's hard. If you want to have children and aren't able to, same thing, right? If you're, I mean, there's just so many situations where just drilling down on, this perfect family, it's hard. It's really hard. And I agree. I also have a testimony of families. I think it's one of our most beautiful doctrines. I think the church a little bit is in some of the lessons, especially at least in my word, is trying to zoom out a little bit and be like, okay, when we say family, we don't only have to talk about marriage, right? We can talk about parent-child relationships. We can talk about ward families. And I think they're trying to zoom out a little bit. And I think that's good. And I understand that we have to teach the ideal. I understand why we do that, but I prefer the zoomed out model. I really do. I prefer the compassionate model. I mean, even Ben Shalati, he talks about like his current family, like he lives with an 80-year-old woman. Like they share a home,
Mhm.
they share dinner, they share meals. And that's his family. And it looks different, but it's really important for both of them.
And
So I like the zoom out. Yeah, go
like
ahead.
even, in the afterlife, long-term view of things, like, why not? I mean, she is this 80-year-old woman he lives with is his sister spiritually, like we are all family members. So I don't
Yeah.
see why it couldn't be. I'm not saying that I know anything about the afterlife and how it will be,
Yeah, yeah,
obviously,
yeah.
but like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I agree. I prefer the zoomed out version, and um I do think it's just hard when people are born the way that they are born to tell them, no, that's wrong. Like,
Right.
I don't think that when someone is not making a choice, but it's just the way that they are, I don't think we should ever tell them that that is wrong. The way that they are, the way that they were made, the way that God made them. And you can
Yeah.
have your opinions about, what will be or won't be in the afterlife, um and things like that. But I just, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people beyond just sexual orientation, gender identity, again, people who just are the way they are.
Yeah.
And I don't think, I think it kind of can lend into the idea that like you can never enter heaven as the way you are, as the way that you came into this
Yes.
world. And I don't think that's true. I think Ben's patriarchal blessing was correct. I think that he absolutely will be in the highest degree of the celestial kingdom, barring murder or something. Um,
Well,
but
I
and I don't
think,
know how that will happen. I don't know what the solution will be, but I do think in the afterlife there will be one for people like Ben, for people
yeah.
who are trans, for people who don't have perfect families on earth, for people who can't have children. I think there will be a solution for all of those things. And I don't know what it is, but I do have
Yeah.
faith that there is one.
I love the way you put that, Morgan. And I just think that this is one of the things that we teach that pushes people away, that makes people feel unwelcome. And so if that's not what we mean to do, I think we need to really look at the way that we're teaching it and find a way to teach it as a beautiful doctrine instead of as a you don't fit with us
Yeah.
doctrine. We have to work on it.
And I think
Something,
ultimately it's important to remember that like the number one source of truth is God. So
yeah,
trust God and the conversations you have with him, and have them, in a way where you're willing to accept truths you don't want to hear, or ideas that weren't what you were hoping to hear or thought you would hear. But I think we've been taught pretty clearly that like uh unless what you are receiving that you feel is from God is telling you to harm another person or do harm in some way, you can probably trust that. If it feels like it's from God and it's not telling you to do harm, well then by all means.
yeah, 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 yeah. Well, Morgan, we've run out of time, but it's been great having you on the podcast today and hearing your thoughts and perspectives. It's been lovely. I've enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah.
Um, Anything else you want to add before we sign off?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, great. Listeners, we appreciate you being with us. If there's anything you want to add, absolutely reach out to us. We'd love to hear your comments. You can email contact at This Week in Mormons, or you can just leave a comment on YouTube or Spotify or wherever you're listening. And thank you, listener, for listening to TWIM This Week, the original Mormon News podcast.
Bye.